Merits and Pitfalls of Online Education in COVID-19. It is a workshop organized by our partner, Near East University, Nicosia, Cyprus. Please allow me to give special thanks to the representative of this great university, because we developed a beautiful partnership, and the papers presented within these workshops, are the results of this partnership, and I'm very thankful for introducing this. The host for this event will be the moderated Fahriye ALTINAY from Near East University from Turkey. And she will be in charge with the paper coordination. Having this said, I invite Fahriye ALTINAY.
Dear Anna, and for the organizer of the Lumen conference, I would like to thank you a lot for this great partnership and the collaboration for this conference. I also would like to congratulate Lumen in the celebration of 20 years of their success. And I am very pleased to moderate this session with, in order to give insights on the merits and pitfalls of online education. We are going to start the first presentation with Yücehan YÜCESOY, which presentation title is the evaluation of the educational animation prepared by class teaching candidates for primary school students. These are the example how they are going to produce animation by class teaching candidates for primary school students. Yes.
Hello everyone. This study is my subject is evaluation the educational animation prepared by class teaching candidates for primary school students. Is other researchers is Zehra ALTINAY GAZI, Gökmen DAİLİ, or Fahriye ALTINAY. Is start my subject. The teaching process is carried out through instructional activities that enable the transfer of knowledge in various instructional environments and the instructional materials used in these activities. Today, technological developments have enabled learning environments to change and to be supported by various tools. Learning activities which were previously carried out in the classroom went beyond the walls of the classroom with technology, and different learning environments were created. Learning environments created by technology have enabled learning activities to be carried out through computers and the internet. Technological developments have caused to change in the level of usage web-based media and the understanding of sharing through these media, in particular change Web 2.0 technologies and continuous development approaches have enabled the production of sharing of web content by the users of the environment. At the same time, web technologies and new environments have started to contribute to the teaching process. Thus, the learning process has gone beyond the walls of the classroom, and the learning process has become feasible in different environments. This change also manifested itself in the materials used for teaching purposes. Animation use effects in animation and primary education. Animation is the movement of many pictures and graphics within scenarios. Animation are created by the successive visuals. Animations that are not sufficient with education alone are a technological option used in many different areas of education. Animation used in many fields, especially referred for explaining complex concepts. Many competence such as pictures, drawing, shapes, symbol, graphics, and text used while preparing an animation are used for the presentation of information independently or together. In the respect innovation brought by animation in the way these components are used to presentation of information and the understanding of content editing. Software developed for popular animation includes Adobe After Effects and Premiere programs. The time spent for visual design reduced, and the people who prepare the instructional content can spend more time on structuring the information in the way animation can be prepared that present and necessary information in a clear and understandable structure. Animation makes it easier for students understand their fundamental visually exact students. In this context, it is thought that important for classroom teacher candidates to gain knowledge and skills about preparing animation. This example is Turkish leader Mustafa Kemal Atatürk's animation drawing example. This other figure is schooling child in social science in animation. Drawing is teacher is animation in learning lesson. And method or research model. The research was conducted with the scope of the case study, which is on the quality research design. Case study in-depth examination of events, environment programs, social groups, and interconnected system. In addition, the case study is used to evaluate and describe details of the event. Participants is the sample of the study consists 41 primary teacher candidates who took the micro teaching is technology education, primary education in lesson course in the spring semester. This last academic year, and an easily accessible sampling method was used to selecting the participants. Application process is during the first 2 weeks, primary school teacher candidates with informed about animation design and sample application were made about how to improve them. In the last 2 weeks, 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional animated cartoons are completed by receiving feedback from teacher candidates. The application process continues. The application process in planes is 5 weeks. The poster design of the cartoons that the teacher candidates can use in 3 different lessons using CorelDRAW and Photoshop or After Effects were requested on mathematics, Turkish lesson, life science lesson. Application process is 2 weeks, information and sample application about poster design and animation design programs. 3rd or 4th weeks, animation design process and feedback is 5 weeks with cartoon and animation analysis. According computer programming skills and learning, these skills became more important every day, especially with the development technology. It's planned to analyze it through evaluation from developed by research according to design features determined by Davison or Lamb Johnson. Here is 1 point is creating simple information graphics, placing complex information quickly and clearly, is releasing with visual and text animation, using limited number of words and text animation, including explanatory text, having device structure in the display animation, is creating a beautiful and attractive design for the audience. Last, preparing according to design principles. An example of animation prepared as an example for class teacher candidates, COVID-19 information animation designed for primary school students was prepared. YÜCESOY is my design. Let's start here. Yes. Pioneer school students is learning is 3 rules is wearing mask, is distance, and other rule. The last animation is, this animation is prepared the After Effects programs design, my design. These references. Thank you for listening.
Okay, dear Yücehan, YÜCESOY, thanks for your presentation. As we all know that the code of the life, also the code of learnings have been changed by pandemic time. In this respect, we are going to evaluate the learning environment context, how this affects our learning, especially children learning in the context of the primary school. Just because of this study gives an insight on the how animations can be created by the teacher candidate in respect to create or produce new learning environments for primary school students. Next, we are going to follow to the presentation of Özge SAKALLI about student voices on technology-supported instruction in tolerance education. Yes, Özge, it's your turn.
Hello everyone, I am Özge SAKALLI and I share screen. 1 minute. Yes. And I am going to talk about students' perspectives, technologies supported instruction in tolerance education. And other researchers in this study, Professor Dr. Fahriye ALTINAY, Mehmet ALTINAY, Gökmen DAGLI, and Zehra ALTINAY. Instruction, the fact that the people live in the harmony together evokes the concept of tolerance. As a result of the historical processes from the past to the present, the culture, tradition, perspective, and behavior styles of societies are changing. Living together in a changing environment in a social sense is possible with the education given the individuals. And tolerance education, UNESCO emphasizing the importance of tolerance education and conducting studies in this field expresses tolerance education as the development of the new generous ability to reach independent judgment, critical thinking, and ethical reasoning. And it is emphasized that tolerance is the primary value in providing peace and tranquility in societies with diverse religions, beliefs, culture, race, and gender in the globalizing world. When the literature examined become across studies in which students are participating on the subjects of tolerance education. And today, with the transition to web-based distance education as an alternative to face-to-face education, it is predicted that the effect of technology integrated education on learning processes will be mentioned a lot in the future. There are studies that express the student-centered, collaborative participation, critical thinking, motivation, questioning, and problem solving abilities of technology-integrated courses through the eyes of the students. And need for this study, video-based educational applications, one of today's innovative educational mediums, enable the emergence of emotions in students and the formation of permanent learning with the effect of video-visual senses. This study is carried out in order to reveal the technology integrated to tolerance education from the eyes of the students. This study gains importance in terms of being a study that includes the ideas of students in the context of tolerance education and technology in the north of Cyprus. And here is the aims. The aim of this research is to report students' experience of using technology-mediated learning applications for tolerance education. The following questions were investigated in this study. 1. How do students define the concept of tolerance? 2. What does using technology-based learning gain students? 3. What are the gains of students in tolerance education with technology-supported education? And here is methodology, research model and pattern. This research is a qualitative study, and this research has been done using phenomenology design. And study group, the simple group consists of 70 students studying in the 3rd grade of primary school. And here is study group and data collection tools, semi-structure and data collection. The data of this research were collected by the researcher in the spring semester of the 2020-2021 academic year. This research consists of 2 stages. In the first stage, students were presented with a video screening in accordance with the concept of tolerance education in the course, which was taught online using Zoom in web-based distance education. In order to reveal students' perspectives on this subject, both focus group meetings were held during the course and online interviews were made with students using a pre-formatted semi-structured interview form after the course. Here is data analysis. And here is findings. Here is table 1, students' views on the concept of tolerance. And here is table 2, students' views on the benefits of using technology-based learning for students. And table 3, students' views on technology-supported teaching and achievements in tolerance education. And discussion. In this study, the findings obtained on how technology-enhanced learning improves students' skills in tolerance education. Students define tolerance as follows: empathy, equality, justice, helpfulness, understanding, respect, affection, being indulgent, behaving well, respecting differences, generous, nice talk, discreet, honest, calm, give value, happiness, smiling. Similar with other studies, similar findings were obtained in the form of loving, being respectful, sharing, behaving well. The findings obtained from students' perspectives about the benefits of using technology-based learning are presented under themes such as the positive effect of the technology use skill, the easier understanding of the subjects, the engaging lessons and entertaining lesson environment, being motivating for learning and taking an active role. With the use of technology in tolerance education, and the presentation of the lecture, in which the audibility and visuality in the videos are added, the attention and interest of the students becomes more intense during the lesson, and it is seen that the learning is more permanent. In similar researches, it is also stated that technology will be beneficial for learning. And the students' opinions revealed by using technology-supported teaching in tolerance education under main topic as follows: positive contribution to academic development on tolerance, enabling students' interaction with regard to tolerance, raising awareness about tolerance and preparing students for social life with regard to tolerance. Similar findings are obtained in other studies. And conclusion and future suggestions here. In this study, students' views on tolerance provide a universal insight with their expressions such as equality, empathy, not harming themselves and world, being fair, helping others, happiness, smiling, hugging, respecting, giving gifts, loving people and all living beings without discrimination. In addition, it is concluded that the participants can take on a more active role while learning. The technological material that's used in the lesson help them to improve their technological skills. They grasp the subjects more easily. They take an attractive and active role in the lesson. And they are motivated to understand the concept of tolerance with a cooperative and entertaining lesson environment. To organize seminars for school administrators, teachers, and families to revise the curriculum to teach respect and tolerance for diversity in students' education. Since tolerance education activities are practices that require active participation of students, more time is needed for teaching. Education programs require a split study for each discipline in order to be efficient in this regard and to make changes. Therefore, materials for tolerance education should be provided by the Minister of Education. And thanks for listeners, organizers, and the others in the work. Thank you.
We thank you to sharing this research with us. Of course, in the cause of the life also changing, cause of the education is changing, and we need to not to forget cognitive learning achievements also, plus emotional learning achievements should be continuing while we are integrating the technology to our life and the process of the education. And this is the example from the primary school context, how children can integrate the technology by their learning. Now we are going to continue with Associate Professor Dr. Nesin Bahçelerli. Yes. About the evaluation of distance learning in tourism education in the pandemic process. Of course, this study will give an insight on the higher education context. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Hocam. Good afternoon, everyone. My research title is the evaluation of the distance learning in tourism education in the pandemic process. I am instructor in the Faculty of the Tourism, and I collect my data from my students, and this action research. I will give the details about the methodology. But first of all, I want to give the summary of my literature review, why I prefer to research this subject. As we know that the tourism industry is a labor-intensive sector, for us is the practical training is very important in our curriculum, and of course the internship, because we aim to increase some skills to our students, for example, the communication skills and problem-solving skills and other kinds of the skills and abilities, and of course how they contact their guests, so they get all of these skills according to their practical training courses. But in this pandemic process, of course, we transfer all our lectures in the distance learning, and how we can solve this problem and what our students' views about this distance learning. I want to learn and I want to research this subject. If I give if I read a little bit to my introduction, the training and employment of qualified employees is an important issue in the emerging areas of the global business world, with fierce competition prevails. In particular, the qualification of the personnel to be employed in the tourism industry, as it ensures the quality and continuity of this service. The knowledge and skills of the employees to be employed in tourism enterprises gain importance. And we know that is a labor-intensive sector, so is getting the practical courses is very important for us. And additional of this, of course, the tourism industry is dropped during this pandemic process, so it's very effective for us and our students. I want to come to my aim for making this research, and the aim of this study is to evaluate the distance learning in tourism education in the direction of students' views during the pandemic process. And in my methodology, the action research technique, which is one of the qualitative research methods, was applied in the study. The sample of the study consists of the 24 tourism students, 24 students, studying tourism in the 2020 and 2021 academic year. The research data were collected using a semi-structured interview technique. Content analysis method was used in the analysis of the data obtained. First of all, the students were asked to define the distance education in the study, and their opinions are stated in the first table. First of all, I asked how they define the distance learning. What do you think about in this kinds of the education, and how can they define? And I collected their views under 4 themes. The first one is the technology, and the number of the views is 18. Second one is the no time and place limitation is 15. Students say these views, and student center and student access to information is the themes for this question, the definition of the distance learning. Of course, first of all, when I said what do you think about the distance learning and how can you define the distance education, a lot of students that is the technology is come to their mind, and they said that is equal to technology because they use the technology during this education period. And of course, no time and place limitation because they attend their class everywhere they know, and there is no any the place limitation or time limitation for attending the class or search the recording videos or access their materials. And of course, the student center, because they agree with me in this point, this distance learning is adapted to the researcher. They I'm sorry, they learn how they achieve or how they reach this materials, how they reach the knowledge during the distance learning. They can find this opportunity. And other one, of course, the student access to information. I said, I think the student center and student access to information, maybe we can collect it under the one DEMS, so they can easily access which information they know. Definition of the distance learning like this. When I come to the second question, of course, I collected in the second table is positive effects of pandemic in the tourism education. The 11 students, so 11 views, sorry, is the participation in international seminars and certificate programs. They said that during this period, of course, they don't make any practical, they don't attend any practical courses, they don't make an internship, but they, with distance learning and distance education opportunities they use, and they attend all some of the international seminars and some free certificate programs they found, and they attend these programs and they gain their skills and learning how to access information. They said that every time, and I come to this third one, I'm sorry, I want to explain after that. And the next one is learning to use the internet and social media for professional development. Some of my students said that, okay, we spent our time in the social media, at least 2 hours we spent in a day, our time in social media, but now we learn how we can access this some detail or some information according to our professional life. So they can find some page from Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and they contact some professionals according to this via this social media, and they find this opportunity during this the pandemic process. And of course, the fourth one, the expanding the communication network. Of course, when you use the effectively the social medias or internet. Okay, John, thank you. They use the network, they find this opportunity. And my last question is the barriers in the tourism education due to pandemic. And I collected 5 themes: lack of practical courses, of course, inability to do internship, infrastructure and technology inadequacy, not being able to find a part-time job, and the feeling of graduating with incomplete information. They reviews about the barriers of the tourism education during this pandemic. As a result of the research, student views on the distance education during the pandemic process were evaluated. The students were primarily asked to define distance education, and the students defined technology-based, student center, lack of time, time and place limitations. In this context, I want to just read this slide. In order to ensure the sustainability of the qualified human resources in tourism, students who receive tourism education should be supported with their theoretical knowledge and with practice-based training, intensive with the reduction of the impact of the pandemic. After the recruitment process of tourism students who graduate in this process, their practical knowledge should be supported with orientation programs. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you for your work and your research. It is a reflection from the higher education, and it's nice to experience how students view on the pandemic process in the light of the tourism education and the tourism sector. As we know, these services are not only education, health, tourism are the services which affects the quality of life in the pandemic time. Thanks for your sharing of your work. Okay, we are now going to listen the Assist Prof. Dr. Başak Bağlama with the speech titled Comparative Analysis of Research on Quantum Learning Model.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to present my thanks to the conference organizers for providing such a platform for us to share our studies and be together. And also, I would like to present my special thanks to Professor Zehra, Fahriye ALTINAY, Gökmen, DAGLI, Associate Professor Behçet Öznacar for all their support in this process. Now let me share my presentation on the screen. Yes, my presentation is about comparative analysis of research on quantum learning model, and we prepared this study with Yücehan, YÜCESOY, Burak Demir, and Behçet Öznacar. Sorry, yes. In the information age we live in, the level of scientific knowledge has continuously grown and increased compared to the past, and the rapid progress of technological innovations cause changes in the life of society. Today, adaptation to the age of information and technology plays a very important role for the future of countries. For this reason, all countries have adopted educational policies based on raising individuals who have the skills to solve problems and make decisions. In the light of these adopted policies, it was determined that only a certain learning model will not be sufficient to update the education process and bring together a better education and training process, and new learning models and new approaches emerged in educational environments. Among these theories and models, teacher-centered ones left their places to student-centered models because they are not suitable for technological developments. One of the striking and important models that teachers should know among student-centered models is the quantum learning model. If we define a quantum learning model, it is a model that aims to gather life skills and academic skills of individuals in a common integrity and supports the active participation of students in the learning process. In addition, the quantum learning model focuses on the principle of learning to learn. In line with this purpose, it increases the motivation of students and provides easier learning of abstract concepts as well. When we come to the aim of our study, we aim to make a comparative analysis on the postgraduate thesis and articles on quantum learning model in Turkey, which is one of the new approaches in the educational context through content analysis within the framework of previously determined variables. In line with the aim of the study, we would like to analyze we wanted to analyze the studies on quantum learning model, and our previously determined criteria were year of publication, language, research method, data collection tools, data analysis methods, and study group of the postgraduate thesis on quantum learning model. We use document analysis method in our study. This is a qualitative research method, and it is the examination of all kinds of written material that provides information on a specific subject under investigation. It is a detailed analysis of sources containing routine information about an event or facts under investigation. This type of research can be used as an independent research method, especially in situations where in-depth interviews and comprehensive observations are limited. The theses we analyzed in this study were obtained by using the keyword quantum learning model in the database of National Thesis Center of Turkey. As a result of this survey, 18 theses on quantum learning model were reached, and those open to access among these theses have been included in the research. And they were examined and interpreted in line with the predetermined criteria. In order to determine the articles published in the Google Scholar database were searched based on the keyword quantum learning model again, and articles and theses outside the field of education have been excluded from the scope of the research. The analysis was made according to 7 previously determined criteria. We talked about them in the previous slides, and data were analyzed with descriptive analysis and interpreted with tables and figures on distributions of frequencies and percentages. Our first result was related with the year of publication of the studies on quantum learning model. And if you look at the postgraduate thesis on this issue, it was determined that the year with the most theses were 2019 with 4 theses, and the articles based on the quantum learning model are examined. It is seen that the year with the highest number of publications were with 11 theses. When we look at the research method of these studies, results showed that the most used methods in the graduate thesis and articles were mixed research methods in both theses and both articles. Data collection tools, we analyzed this variable as well. And as you can see from the table, it was concluded that the most used data collection tools were scales. And this is related with using qualitative research method as well. When we look at the results related with the data analysis methods, we can see that the most used data analysis method is t-test and ANOVA in thesis and article studies. When we look at the study group, when the distributions of the study groups in the thesis and articles, both thesis and articles made for the quantum learning model were examined, it was determined that the highest group was secondary school students. And this is an interesting result, we think. And we talked about this in the recommendation part as well. When we come to the conclusion and recommendations, in conclusion, this study aimed to provide a comprehensive review on the studies, including articles and postgraduate theses, including both postgraduate studies and articles. I think we thought that we considered that this is important because we found similar and sometimes different results between articles and postgraduate theses, and we think that this also provides an idea about carrying out research on this issue. It is believed that this research will shed light on advanced research and applications by revealing the existing trends in scientific research and applications in the field of quantum learning. In line with the results of the study, we provided recommendations for future research and practices. Firstly, studies focusing on the quantum learning approach and to be carried out at different education levels are needed, because if you remember, we said that secondary school students were the most frequently used study group in the studies. There is a need for branch-based and especially gain-oriented studies. One of the most important limitations of the present study is that it focuses on the studies written in Turkish native language. In this context, we can recommend that examining the studies conducted in different countries and in different languages may provide an opportunity to present the That's all about our presentation. Thank you for listening to me.
On time. Thank you, Assist Prof. Dr. Başak Bağlama. This study also shows us in the nature of the methodology. We should also look for the existing studies on quantum learning. Now we are going to listen about Rasiha Yerel, a speech title which is about content analysis of scientific studies, published within the scope of management style of school principles. Of course, during the pandemic time, we need to consider about the nature of the management. Now we are going to listen about the existing studies, which is about management styles. Yes, your
Thank
turn.
you. Hello to everyone. Presentation title, Content Analysis of Scientific Studies published within the scope of management styles of school principles. Purpose of the research. The aim of this study is to evaluate the articles about the management styles of school principles between 2011 and 2021. Answers to the following questions are sought. How is the distribution by years? What is the type of studies? What are the commonly used research methods? What are the frequently used data collection tools? What is the frequently used sample? What is the sample size often used? Methodology, population and sample. The population of this study, articles in the academic journals indexed in the Google Scholar database published between 2011 and 2021 and which are open access were selected for analysis. As a result of the search made in the database, 452 articles were found. Since this number was seen too much, 50 of them were chosen randomly and the sample of the study was determined. Data collection tool and data analysis. Each article examined within the scope of the research was subjected to content analysis using the article evaluation form created by the researcher in line with expert opinions. Content analysis results were expressed as frequency and percentage values. Results, table 1. Breakdown of studies conducted within the scope of school principles management styles by years. According to the findings obtained, it is observed that the studies conducted within the scope of management styles of school principles have an increasing trend towards recent years. Table 2, working tips of school principles on management style. According to the findings, it is seen that most of the studies conducted within the scope of management styles of school principles are research studies. There are more studies in the research category as management is a practice-based business. Table 3, frequently used methods in studies on management styles of school principles. It is seen in these studies that the qualitative method is used much more than the mixed method and the quantitative method. The excess of qualitative research methods in the studies examined with this study can be explained in order to obtain in-depth information on the subject. Table 4, data collection tools frequently used in studies on management styles of school principles. According to the findings, quantitative method, survey, and qualitative data collection tool interview were widely used in studies conducted within the framework of school principles management styles. The use of qualitative research methods in the studies examined has led to the preference of interview, which is a frequently used data collection tool within the scope of this method. Table 5, frequently used samples in studies conducted within the scope of school principals management skills. Based on these findings, the studies conducted within the scope of the management skills, research of school principals are at a high level, especially in primary education institution. And the last table 6, sample size frequently used in studies conducted within the scope of management skills of school principals. In studies conducted according to the findings, it is understood that most of the sample size is in the range of 1n20. More studies can be done with quantitative and mixed methods on this subject. More observation and surveys can be used as data collection tools in research. A larger sample can be studied in future studies. The questionnaire can be used for this purpose. For future studies, the sample can be increased in the secondary school department. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you for your valuable research by sharing with us. Actually, as I mentioned before, management style is really important during the pandemic time, even in the educational practices. And now we come to the final commentaries. I would like to remind the focus of the workshop again and what we have shared together, and then go to the discussions in order to explore what we have achieved in this workshop. As we know that COVID-19 pandemic period has changed the nature of our life and educational practices. So different services have shaped based on the pandemic time. In this respect, especially online education become apparent in the practices of all levels of education in order to facilitate learning, teaching process. Also, different experiences, different learning atmosphere have gained from this COVID-19 pandemic period by the relation of the use of technology, especially and on the use of the online education. So this workshop has tried to share different research in different levels of education to shed a light on the merits of online education or pitfalls of online education for future strategies in education. In this respect, I would like to come to the final commentaries about the workshop. Is anyone would like to raise any questions in order to explore this great discussion of the workshop? If not, after getting any questions, I want to ask 2 questions to volunteer participants in order to reflect their experiences on summarizing merits and pitfalls of online education in COVID-19 pandemic process. Is there any questions to raise? If not, I would like to ask this question. What are the merits of online education in COVID-19, and what are the pitfalls of online education in COVID-19 pandemic period in order to summarize our final commentaries? Yes, is anyone would like to answer? Professor Zehra would like to make any comment to make a finalization? Yes, thank you. First of all, congratulations to all presenters and thank you for the participations of the all participants. It's very honor to be in here with you. And also it is very critical and also reflective workshop on merits and pitfalls of online education during the pandemic time. As we have listened from the presenters and the works, we realize that we can see the significant examples from all levels of education during the pandemic time. And what we have to pay attention that value education in primary schools and the animations and the gamifications for better learning, quantum learning, and also practical works and internship necessity in higher education are raised during this workshop. And also we can expand the knowledge and we can expand the perspective on during the pandemic time, online education give a chance to us to raise the awareness of working on generic skills. This is very significant. We shouldn't forget the necessity of paying attention on generic skills during the learning process in all levels of education, because in the future we have to come across with the how we can transfer knowledge into skills, and how we can transfer these skills to the workplaces are very crucial and hot topics as we raise in the presentations and as we observe from the presentations and real practical works. So I am happy to experience this atmosphere and the workshop. We can come up with the further research focuses and how we can collaborate from all around the world with these local problems and how we can deal with local problems in a global collaborations. Thank you. Yes, Professor Mehmet, would you like to raise about the higher education or in general scope of the education experiences? Any comment, final commentaries? Yes.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, I want to extend my great appreciation and thanks to the organizers of this Congress at this magnitude. Really, I am very happy from this organization because it is very current issue that we are talking about. Second, I want to thank to the chair and also the presenters for their very impressive and current presentations. Now, I'm a teacher. I have been teaching for 27 years. I always emphasize 20 years have passed that the practical applications, considering the needs of the industry, are very important. Knowledge is very important. We have to have a current follow-up of the current research and knowledge, but we have to develop skills-based learning. Now with the COVID-19, all universities now saw this reality and the importance. And there is a shift from lecture-based learning to activity-based learning, which is very important at these times. So COVID-19 forced us to follow the right track in education. Knowledge, we have to continue to follow everyday new publications, but experiences are important when we join the business. So when I look at the practices here, students in online education are more active. They have to be active participants, not passive listeners in the class. This online education forced academic institutions to realize that activity-based education is important. If you're going to be an academician, then okay, you have to have deep learning and other things. But if you're going to join the job market, you have to have skills, because the business people are asking, how are you going to contribute to my business? What is important? That is important. So they don't have money, funds to develop your skills and competences. They want ready students, graduates to start work. So this is an important change. In the previous classical lecture type sessions, students are passive listeners. In online education, students are active participants. And this is the reality of the world that we need to follow. So then more responsibility on the shoulders of students, on the shoulders of teachers. We're responsible for our future, more responsibility. So, and the other skills-based learning contributed to develop students' research skills, to follow current information, to develop their analysis, synthesis, and evaluation skills, improve communication skills, knowledge-based teaching and learning approaches have been replaced by students' involvement actively to develop their skills. Traditional assessment approaches, exam-based, left its place to research, presentation, projects, and assignments. This is the correct approach for our future. And also, student workload and responsibility increased. And this is really learning and teaching. So yes, we have to have a shift from there. And to sum up, investments in technology is not enough. Social interaction, these are a few pitfalls I am telling you. Technology and interest connection systems are not sufficient in many countries. Second, investments in technology is not enough. Social interaction has reduced because it is online. We are not together. So once again, I want to thank for all sharing this information, and to the organization, the Lumen organization. You did a great job for the future of education, for the future of all countries in the world. So I express my deep thanks and congratulations to all Lumen leaders.
Thank you for summarizing our mission in this workshop also. We are coming the ending of our workshop. Actually, I would like to raise the awareness on that. We are also learning in adult education. Pedagogy and andragogy is the merging point of this merits of online education. So now we are learning in a personal and professional way as we are coming together from different countries, different cities, which to share our knowledge and experiences. And this is a typical example of merits of online educational practices, which brings us together to share. And this is in this great moments, which I would like to thank too much for Lumen Congress organizers, participants, listeners, and other co-authors for being in this workshop to share for future strategies of education. Thank you.
Thank you for all your presentation. Thank you for all your involvement and efforts and time. Have a great evening, and let us hear soon for the next information about the Congress. Thank you again for all your involvement. You were fantastic. Have a great evening. See you.
Bye.